Hi everyone, this is Randy with D&Z Customs. Today we're talking about Tremec Magnum 6-speed transmissions. We're going to look at the differences and the things that are the same between a Magnum and a Magnum F 6-speed transmission. Let's take a little closer look and see what those differences and similarities are. Right here on our left, we have a Magnum transmission 6-speed. And over here on the right, we have a Magnum F 6-speed transmission. One of the similarities that you'll notice right away between the Magnum F here, this part, the main body of it, is the same as a regular Magnum. Everything here is the same. The tail part is where the differences come in the shifter location. You can see there's a major difference on how that looks. Now dimensionally, there's a big difference too. From this input shaft to the center of this shifter right here on a Magnum transmission, that measurement is 26.6 inches. From the input shaft to the end of the tail shaft on the Magnum is 33.8 inches. When we go over here to the Magnum F, from the end of the input shaft to the center point of this shifter location here, that's 29.4 inches. And from the end of this input shaft to the tail shaft here, where the spline comes out on the end, that's 31.8. So there's a major difference right there dimensionally. Now both of these transmissions have 26 spline input shaft, and they both have a 31 spline output shaft. 26, 31, 26, 31. So that's a similarity between them. All the internals are functioning the same. They both have 700 foot-pounds rating in both transmissions. They both have a 7,800 RPM rating. We chose a 266 first gear transmission with a 0.63 overdrive in the Magnum, and in our Magnum F transmission, we also chose that gear ratio setup also. You can get a 297 first gear with a 0.50 overdrive final drive. Most of our customers, it ends up being that they don't need that. It's too much for first gear with the rear gear that we're running and for the autocross and road course stuff that we're doing. So we end up staying with a 266 first gear. It just seems to work better. It just depends on your application, what you're doing with the car. The nice thing, the front of these transmissions being that they're both the same, the bell housing, which we like to use, the QuickTime bell housing here, that will bolt on to both transmissions equally without any issues. That is a really nice similarity. It saves on a lot of trying to figure out parts. The other thing that's great is we can utilize common components. We like using a center force throw-up bearing that bolts up to the front of both of those transmissions equally. Our center force clutch for LS application bolts up because it's both 26 spline input shaft, so there's no differences that way. We do a lot of LS applications, so that works out really well. Both these transmissions weigh in at about 130 pounds dry weight, and they both utilize the similar mounting point for a transmission mount. But on the Magnum F, it gives you other mounting locations here which are characteristic for your 3rd and 4th gen F bodies. And that's what this transmission was designed specifically for, was to go into your 3rd and 4th gen F bodies as a replacement for a normal T56 Tremec transmission that came in those cars from the factory. As guys got more power building in their cars, and superchargers and things, they were tearing up the factory transmissions and they needed another option. And that's where this transmission comes into play as a great option for those cars. You also have an optional position here for another shifter location for hot rodding purposes, if you want to use either transmission for your particular application. We are going to be using this transmission here in a 69 Camaro that we're building. We like the ergonomics where this shifter location is going to be. We sit a little bit further back and a little lower in our cars when we're doing our racing. So we think that that's going to be a great location for that shifter. And we're hoping it proves us to be correct. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to give us a call at D&Z Customs, 262-347-9741. You can send us an email at info@dnzcustoms.com. We are also a Tremec transmission dealer, so we can take care of your Tremec transmission needs or any other possible products that you need for your project build. And if you have any other questions, you can always go online onto www.tremec.com and take a look at their website. Thanks for checking out our video. Hopefully this answered some of the questions for you. And give us a call if you have any more.